In the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. And pilgrimage to the house is a duty unto Allah for mankind. Those who are able, and him who disbelieves, let him know that lo, Allah is independent of all creatures. Good day, respected listeners and TV audience, and especially this year's pilgrims to the house of God who would like to explain to you some of the rules and rituals of Hajj in several subsequent sessions. No doubt all Muslims of the world aspire and wish to make the pilgrimage to Medina and the house of God. Every year, thousands of enthusiastic pilgrims travel to Mecca to perform the Umrah and obligatory Hajj rituals. They visit the holy graves of the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, and his progeny, and the infallibles. They offer their prayers in Medina and Mecca's famous mosques. One of the questions which the pilgrims normally ask is how one should prepare oneself for this journey. What does preparation mean in terms of the Hajj pilgrimage? What are we supposed to do? God willing, we will elaborate certain fundamental issues in regard to preparation for this journey. To begin with, I will first explain a religious law concerning istita'a, which literally means capability of doing Hajj rites. Those who are capable are obligated to perform Hajj. Capability depends on three main factors. First, one should physically be healthy enough to go to Mecca and perform Hajj. Secondly, he should be financially capable. Thirdly, the way should be open, safe, and secure, meaning there should be no obstacles on his way to Mecca. A fourth condition has also been added, that the person who intends to travel to Mecca should have enough time to perform all the acts of worship in Hajj. Hajj is not obligatory on those who are physically incapable. For example, one who is capable financially but he is physically emaciated and weak due to old age. Similarly, there are people who are physically healthy and strong but financially unable to bear the Hajj expenses. Such people are also not obligated to perform Hajj. Generally speaking, he who has adequate provision for the outward and return journey, as well as the expenses of performing the Hajj rituals on a par with his social status and has sufficient means of livelihood to maintain himself, his wife, and children on returning home. For instance, one who has a job or a profession through which to earn his living and his journey is not harmful for such a person is described as financially capable. That is, he has the financial ability to perform Hajj, and Hajj is obligatory on him. The third condition, as I mentioned earlier, is that the route must be open and safe. In other words, there must be no barrier on his way to reach Mecca. There might be a person who is financially and physically capable, but there is an obstruction on his way. For example, if the way is closed or there is a serious risk, pilgrimage ceases to become obligatory for him. Well, people who travel to sacred house of God normally have a question in their minds about preparation for this journey. They ask, what are we to do in order to be prepared before making this journey? I should tell you that one of the basic necessary requirements of this journey is awareness and knowledge of the rites, sacred places, and their secrets. There are a lot of things to know about Hajj. However, in this program I will focus on certain specific issues such as the do's and don'ts of Hajj rituals, that is, obligatory acts and the forbidden ones. I wish to carry on my discussion on Hajj rules and rituals and be at your service as far as possible anywhere in Medina, Miqat, Mecca, Arafat, Mash'ar, and Mina. As for other aspects of Hajj, including its secrets and mysteries, which are so many and of course as expansive as the ocean, you can study and discover them yourself. You must know that knowing these rites and their meanings and secrets helps a pilgrim to a great deal. Furthermore, since you will visit different holy places in Mecca and Medina, you must know these secrets as well as the historical events related to them. There are special books and cassettes about these subjects. Those who are interested in studying, they can read books, and those who do not have time or patience to study books can listen to cassettes. Apart from studying books, there are certain important things which you should bear in mind even before embarking on the Hajj journey, and I will talk about them later. A sincere intention is more important than everything else. Umrah and Hajj are part of the obligatory duties which must be performed with the intention of seeking nearness to God. The most basic requirement of these rituals is sincerity. It has been narrated from our sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq, who said, "He who performs Hajj purely for God, God will reward him a place in paradise, and he who performs Hajj rituals for people's sake or for someone other than God, the reward will be on the people's shoulder." Therefore, sincerity is the first requirement. The second important thing is halal property, which is to be spent for this journey. According to a tradition which says, he who takes preparation for Hajj and there is a sign of a haram object in his luggage or property, God will not accept his pilgrimage. It has also been mentioned in a hadith al-Qudsi or divine tradition that God the Almighty said, "Whoever performs these rituals with sincere intention and halal provision, I will grant him a place with the prophets, martyrs, and the righteous ones." Another thing to mention here is bidding farewell to relatives and asking them for forgiveness. It has been reported in a historical narration that Ali ibn Yaqtin, who was working with Harun al-Rashid's government on Imam Kazim's orders, traveled to Mecca to perform pilgrimage. He went to Medina to visit the Imam, but the Imam did not let him in. He inquired about the reason, and the Imam said that since you did not receive one of my followers in your place of work, and you offended him, we will not let you in, and your Hajj pilgrimage will not be accepted. Upon hearing this, Ali ibn Yaqtin went back to Kufa, obtained the offended man's pleasure, and returned to Mecca to perform the Hajj rituals. Another recommended act done is making a will about your matters of concern, our properties, or anything else. However, it does not in any way mean that we should prepare ourselves for death, nor does it mean that we should think about it. The pilgrimage journey is a good pretext for giving advice on matters of worship and financial affairs and the likes of such things. Validity of prayer is another important issue that has to be taken into account. We have three kinds of prayer in this journey. One is prayer of Tawaf of Umrah, another is Tawaf of Hajj prayer, and the third is Tawaf an-Nisa prayer. In any case, one's prayers must be valid and in order. In case you are suspecting the correctness of your prayers, you can ask an alim to check it with you. If there is an error in them, it will be removed. Give sadaqah and recite dua or supplication when you start in journey. Also try to choose good companions for yourself. When you enter Saudi Arabia, those of you who belong to Medina first will go to Medina and stay there for some days. Thereupon you will travel to Mecca, while those pilgrims who are to speak Medina last will go from, according to the technical term, but the late Medina, they will go from Jeddah to Jaffa, where they put on the Ihram and begin performing the rituals en route to Mecca.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
I am now in Medina, talking to you from nearby the grave of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and Baqi Cemetery. I am praying to Almighty Allah to grant you success in visiting these holy places. Normally, the pilgrims who come here to perform Hajj rituals stay in the city of the Holy Prophet for some days. This is the city of migration and jihad, the city of love and martyrdom. You as pilgrims do not have anything to do here with respect to Umrah and Hajj, but you will become familiar with parts of the history of the early period of Islam and the life of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his progeny and his devout companions, because Medina, being the city of the Prophet, is a big tableau which bears clear and vivid pictures from the early history of Islam.
نشون خواهد داد. خوشا به حال آنها که خوب بنگرند و خوب فکر کنند و بیندیشند و از این
Fortunate are those who look at this tableau well, contemplate and ponder over it, and take for their entire lives a lesson from it and from these great men of God who are his successors on earth. When you are in Medina, you will offer your prayers in Masjid al-Nabi, the Prophet's Mosque. This is a mosque which is next to Masjid al-Haram, or Grand Mosque, in terms of greatness, dignity and significance. According to a tradition, each prayer offered in this mosque is equal to 10,000 rakats of prayer. Likewise, you will offer your prayers in other mosques like Masjid al-Quba, the Quba Mosque, the first mosque built in Islam. According to a narration, he who performs wudu goes to Kaaba and prays in Quba Mosque. His prayer would be equivalent to an individual Umrah. You will also go to Qiblatain Mosque, or Mosque of the Two Qiblas, where the changing of Muslims' Qibla from Masjid al-Aqsa to Masjid al-Haram took place. You will offer your prayers there and pray for the freedom of goats. You will also pray in other mosques such as Mubahala Mosque, Quma Mosque, Khandaq Mosque, Fatim Mosque, Hazrat Ali Mosque, and Salman Mosque. Whenever you are entering these mosques, if you do not have an obligatory prayer to offer, you should offer 2 rakats of mustajab prayer, known as tahiyyat prayer, which is offered as a sign of respect for the mosque. You should offer your qaza or missed prayers if you do not have an obligatory prayer to offer. You should make your minds now that when you are traveling to these places, you will offer your qaza prayers in these sacred places. It would be even much better to offer your qaza prayers in Masjidul Nabi and Masjidul Haram, because by doing so not only you have fulfilled your duties, but you also have gained a lot of reward. I request you to join the glorious congregational prayers held in Masjidul Haram and Masjidul Nabi and gain the reward, and you will do so, inshallah. Try to schedule your time in such a way that when it is time for a prayer in Medina or Mecca, you are not busy doing anything anywhere in bazaars and markets. You must keep exact prayer times in your mind. Most people know these timings, but what you may have to do is get yourself ready for congregational prayer when prayer time is nearing. The clerics who are accompanying the groups will explain relevant rules and procedures of congregational prayer. You will come to learn that there is not too much difference between the prayers. Apart from prayers, you will also visit sacred places during your stay in Medina. One of the most sacred places you will visit is the grave of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, which has a lot of merits and rewards. You will also visit Baqi Cemetery, which is open for men only twice every day. It is open once in the morning after Fajr dawn prayer and in the evening after Asr prayer. The gate is open for 1 or 2 hours. Men can enter the cemetery and visit the graves of awliya, meaning the righteous men of God. Ladies are not allowed to enter, and they do not have to persist. They can, however, visit the Masjidul Nabi and the tomb of the Holy Prophet after Fajr and Zuhr prayers. Ladies should make good use of their times, so they should set their hours in such a manner that they can visit the tomb of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his progeny.
اجازه میدن، یکی بعد از نماز صبح و همچنین بعد از نماز ظهر. خانم ها اگر سعی کنن وقت زیارتشون رو جوری تنظیم کنن که در این 2 وقت بتونن به زیارت قبر مطهر پیامبر نائل بشن، بسیار مناسب هست. در چند روزی که در مدینه منوره هستید و همچنین مکه مکرمه، از برخی از کارها که موجب
When you are in Medina, try not to do anything that would cause misconception for people of other sects, who might as a result be included to insult the Shiites. You do not have to tie protection ropes known as dakhil to the rails and iron bars near the graves or elsewhere, nor do you have to write ariza letters and throw them onto the graves. You should not also pick up soil from graves or pray near the Baqi cemetery or inside. I request you also to offer your ziyarah prayers inside Masjidul Nabi, which has more reward. Do not come out of mosque when it is time for prayer. Also, when the people are moving toward the mosque for prayer, you should not walk in the opposite direction.
نگردید.
It is narrated that as many as 10,000 companions and followers of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, are buried in this cemetery. To name a few of them, they are Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, Prophet's uncle; Fatima bint Asad, Prophet's stepmother; al-Banin, Imam Ali's wife, and Abu Fazil's mother; aunts, cousins, and wives of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny: Abdullah ibn Ja'far Tayyar, Ibrahim, the 16-month-old son of the Prophet of God; Halima, Sadiya, and foster mother of the Holy Prophet; and great companions such as Sa'din Maddah, Usman ibn Ma'zun, Miqdad ibn Aswad, Bilal Habashi, and many more whose graves are unknown, but their names are mentioned and remembered in history. If you are staying in Medina for at least 10 days, you must offer complete prayers, otherwise you are a traveler, and you should offer 4 rak'ah prayers as 2 rak'ahs, meaning that you must offer them in short. However, when you are not sure as to whether or not you will stay in Medina for 10 days, you should ask your group cleric about this. According to some jurists, you can offer prayers in full anywhere in Medina, but the most common views among the scholars is that you as travelers are free to choose between offering complete and short prayers in Masjidun Nabi. During your stay in Medina, do not forget to recite the Holy Quran. Whether you are in the Prophet's mosque or in your place of residence, avail every opportunity to recite the Holy Quran and preserve its respect. When you are offering congregational prayer here, the congregational prayer is slightly different. The difference is not major, and the cleric who is accompanying your group will guide you and tell you about the differences.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
I'm talking to you from near Shajara Mosque, which is located in Zul Halifa, a few kilometers south of Medina. Shajara Mosque is one of the designated miqat or stations used by pilgrims going to Mecca. This is where they put on Ihram, the white garb. Of course, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, has set other such places also for wearing Ihram, and they are Jofa, Yalamlam, Qarnul Manzil. Of course, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, has set other such places also for wearing Ihram, and they are Jofa, Yalamlam, Qarnul Manazil, and Aqiq Valley. The pilgrims who travel as Medina first are those who first come to Medina to worship and visit the holy sites. They leave for Mecca after some days of stay in Medina and wear the Umrah Ihram en route to Mecca. However, those who are with Medina last first travel to Mecca, do the rituals, and then visit Medina. These pilgrims first go to Jofa, whereupon they wear the Ihram and move to Mecca. As I told you earlier also, Shajara Mosque is located in Zul Halifa. Zul Halifa is derived from the word halfa, which means not grass reed or a vascular plant that grows in water. That is because this is a fertile area located by Aqiq Valley, which has stationary water in most seasons. Zul Halifa's another name is Ab'ar Ali, Ali's wells. It is said so because, according to historians, some of the wells which the commander of the faithful, Ali peace be upon him, dug with his own hands were located in this area. Shajara means tree because when traveling to Mecca, the Holy Prophet of Islam wore Abraham garb under a tree here in this area. A mosque was built in the same place where the tree stood and under which the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, had put on the Ihram. The mosque was called Shajara Mosque, which has lately been reconstructed and extended, as you can see in the image. Some people wear Ihram in Medina, but they have to come to make Niyat and say the Labbayks in Shajara Mosque. Some others come to the mosque and wear Ihram here inside the mosque, depending on which is more convenient. Perhaps it might be more comfortable to wear Ihram before coming to the mosque, and there would be no problem in doing so provided that the Niyyah and Labbaik are said here. All pilgrims who are traveling to Mecca to perform Umrah enter Shajara Mosque. Some of them come here with their Ihram garbs on, and some wear their Ihram garbs here. They shout Labbaik with the niyyah or intention of wearing the Ihram of Umrah to Tamattu. So they say, they are in the state of Ihram after saying the Labbaik. Tamattu rituals have just started. They go to Mecca to perform the rest of the pilgrimage rituals like Tawaf or circumambulation, Tawaf prayer, Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and Taqsir. We are also preparing to wear Ihram and enter the mosque so as to perform the intention of performing Umrah of the obligatory Hajj. We will then say Labbaik and move on to Mecca to perform the rest of the Hajj rituals. As you see, a number of pilgrims have already worn Ihram and are ready to enter the mosque and make their niyyah and say Labbaik. Some pilgrims have worn Ihram in Medina, but they are not considered to be in a state of Ihram until they enter the mosque, set their minds on performing Umrah to Tamattu, and say Labbaik. Men should take off all of the stitched or sewn clothes, including their underwear and caps, and must wear slippers and 2 pieces of cloth, which are usually white. It is better that the cloth be white and the slippers must be such that they do not cover the entire upper feet. Normally, the pilgrims tie a towel or piece of cloth around their waists and put another one on their shoulders to get prepared for Umrah to Tamattu. They enter the state of Ihram as soon as they recite Labbaik with the intention of starting Umrah to Tamattu. Niyyah is the intention which one passes through his mind, but sometimes the clerics in the groups help the pilgrims recite the niyyah expressly as such. I'm becoming muhrim for Umrah to Tamattu with the intention of attaining nearness to Allah. Who is a proxy must make niyyah on behalf of his emanator. Similarly, if a person is performing an obligatory Hajj, he must make the niyyah of obligatory Hajj, and he who is performing a mustahab Hajj should make the niyyah of mustahab Hajj. While keeping the niyyah in mind, the pilgrims start Umrah to Tamattu by saying,
یعنی میگن لبیک اللهم لبیک لبیک لا شریک لک لبیک ان الحمد والنعمت لک والملک لا شریک لک لبیک.
Meaning, here I am at your service, O Lord. Where I am at your service, you have no partner. Here I am at your service. All the praise is yours. So is the bounty, and to you belongs all property. There is no partner to you. Here I am at your service. Women are not obligated to wear any specific clothes. They can wear sewn clothes and there would be no problem in doing so. However, the clothes they wear should be clean and acquired from their own property. They should bear all conditions necessary for prayer clothes. The women should not cover their faces and they must recite Labbaik with intention of entering Ihram for Umrah to Tamattu. Upon reciting Labbaik, they are considered to be in state of Ihram, so they should avoid doing things which are forbidden for them. The pilgrims will then move to Mecca to perform the remaining rituals of Umrah to Tamattu, such as Tawaf or circumambulation, Tawaf prayer, sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and Taqsir. The pilgrims remain in the state of Ihram in as so far as they have not done Taqsir. When Taqsir is done, all obligations of Umrah are finished and the pilgrims can take off Umrah clothing and wear their ordinary clothes. We are now, inshallah, going to make a pilgrimage to Mecca to perform the rest of the acts related to Tawaf and other rituals, and I will be back to you there in Mecca, inshallah.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Once Ihram is worn, the rituals of Umrah to Tamattu are started and certain things become forbidden, which we must avoid until Taqsir, which is the last obligation of Umrah to Tamattu. However, some of the prohibited acts during Ihram are forbidden in general, even when you are out of Ihram also. Other forbidden acts during Ihram are either permissible or mustahab in normal circumstances. The secret in avoiding these acts during Ihram is that we should practice self-restraint so that we can stay away from sins throughout our lives. That is, one should avoid doing those acts which are forbidden during Umrah or Hajj. The sin of those acts which are always forbidden is greater if committed during Ihram. One must therefore be careful not to commit them. If a person exercises self-restraint, God willing, he will be able to avoid sins throughout his entire life. Forbidden acts are divided into three categories. Some of them are forbidden for both men and women. Some others are forbidden for men only. And the third category is forbidden for women only. As for the first category, which is forbidden for both men and women, it involves many acts which may happen to you. I will explain them for you as you need to know them. You can read their details in books written about Hajj rituals, or your group cleric might explain them in the sessions they hold for you. Many of the forbidden acts may never happen to you. However, one of those things which is likely to occur is the use of perfume and scents. For example, you might use aromatic soaps, which you should not. Similarly, you should not wear clothes that had come into contact with perfume or the likes of such things. You should not use perfume or wear it in any manner, nor should you use sweet-smelling toothpaste, shampoo, and cream. This is the first thing which may happen with you. The second forbidden act during Ihram is looking in the mirror. You might be on buses, in hotel, corridors and toilets with a mirror in front of you, which you must be careful not to look in. You must know that if you do something inadvertently and unintentionally, there would be no objection in it, such as if it so happens that you do not notice a mirror and you see yourself in it. Another forbidden act during ihram is removal of hair from the body. A pilgrim must not remove, pluck, or scratch off hair from his head, face, or any other parts of his body. However, if hair drops off by itself in the course of wudu or ghusl made for entering Masjid al-Haram or for circumambulation, there would be no objection in it. Another forbidden act is cutting nails. Cutting nails with nail cutters or scissors or any other means in a state of ihram is forbidden and must be avoided. Also, it is forbidden for one who is in the state of ihram to swear in the name of Allah. You must be careful not to swear in Allah's name. For example, do not say Wallah, Billah or the likes of such words. Similarly, Fusuq is haram for a pilgrim in the state of ihram. Fusuq means lying, boasting, and showing off one's social status to others. If one gives a boastful and denigrating order to another person, it is haram. But if an order is not considered to be so, there would be no objection in it. For example, if a person sitting at a table asks another person to give him a cup of water or pass him a salt shaker, there would be no problem in it. Applying oil, cream, and the likes of such things to the body is haram for both men and women. A husband and wife are forbidden to each other, meaning they cannot look at each other lustfully, nor can they desire any sexual pleasures from each other. They are temporarily in the ruling of a brother and a sister. They are not strangers to each other, but they cannot touch each other with lust or with the intention of seeking other sexual pleasures. There are also some other forbidden acts which both men and women should be mindful of. For example, uprooting grass and plants or cutting down and breaking trees in the area of the haram are forbidden, though such a thing does not happen normally. Hunting is also one of the things which does not happen in the area of haram at present, yet there might be locusts or some insects which a pilgrim should be careful not to kill. These were some of the acts which are forbidden for both men as well as women, but there are some acts which are forbidden for men only. Now we speak about the acts which are prohibited for men only. One of them is covering of the head. It is not permissible for a male pilgrim in a state of ihram to cover his head or part of it by way of shawl, towel, cap, and the like. It is also forbidden for a male pilgrim in ihram to wear shoes, socks, or stockings if they cover the upper part of the foot. You must bear in mind the differences between wearing and covering. Covering is used for the head and wearing for foot. It is therefore forbidden to cover the head with whatever things that might cover it. For example, putting a towel or blanket over your head is considered covering your head, and it is forbidden, but if the blanket falls over your feet or because of cold weather inside a bus, you yourself pull it over them, there would be no objection in doing so. Likewise, if the cloth of the ihram worn around the waist covers the foot, there is no objection in it. Another prohibited act for men only is being under a shade, which is confined to while walking or covering the distance between Miqat and Mecca, and from Mecca to Arafat in state of Ihram. This also does not happen with Iranian pilgrims who are moved overnight from Miqat to Mecca and from Mecca to Arafat. Of course, there are some exceptional cases which the group leaders will explain to you and will guide you about them, God willing. Another prohibited act for male pilgrim is wearing sewn clothes during Ihram. As I told you earlier also, men should take off all sewn clothes, including their underwear. This is also not a problem for pilgrims normally because they use a belt to hold the ihram cloth around the waist. The belt tied over the ihram cloth around the waist has a sewn pocket for money, which is an exception and is free of any objection.
اون اگر دوخته باشد استثناء شده و اشکالی ندارد.
As for the prohibited acts for women only, one of the acts which is forbidden for a woman is wearing ornamental jewelry like rings, bangles, and the like, although it is not necessary for them to take off what they had been wearing in the past. Ladies who have been wearing rings and bangles in the past are not obligated to remove them during Ihram, but they must not wear anything for adornment. Men also should not wear rings as an ornament to beautify themselves, but if they have been wearing rings in the past, it is not necessary to remove them during Ihram. If a pilgrim wears a carnelian ring during Ihram to gain its reward, there would be no objection in doing so. Another prohibited act for women is covering the face. They should not cover the part of their face that are washed during wuzu. They should know that while traveling on a bus to Mecca, it is not permissible for them to put their veils on their faces, nor are they allowed to do so during Tawaf and its prayer. Normally, they are used to pulling down their veils over their faces, but they should be careful not to do so during Ihram. However, if they want to hide their faces from strangers, the veils should be at a distance from their faces. For example, sometimes ladies put on caps with a front side brim. Sometimes the veil falls over the brim so that the front part of the face is not visible. In any case, women's faces should not be covered during Ihram, as I explained. This was a brief explanation of the prohibited acts during Ihram, but be it the Ihram of Umrah or Hajj, the rulings are the same and I am not going to repeat them again. These acts are forbidden until you perform Taqsir as the last obligatory ritual of Umrah to Tamattu. On completion of Taqsir, one is out of the state of Ihram, and all that is forbidden during Ihram becomes lawful. But those who act which had been forbidden in the past also, like lying, cursing, and swearing, remain forbidden as ever before. And those acts which had been halal before Ihram but were rendered haram due to Ihram become halal after Taqsir. I request you to go through books written on Hajj rituals so that you come to know more. You might also find more detailed rulings during the sessions which are held by group clerics.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
I am talking to you from inside Masjid al-Haram and conveying you my greetings from near the Kaaba. We wore the Ihram clothes in Miqat and came over to Masjid al-Haram, the sacred mosque, to perform Umrah of the obligatory Hajj known as Umratul Tamattu, and the rest of the obligatory acts such as Tawaf, circumambulation around the Kaaba, Tawaf prayer, and sa'i between Safa and Marwa. If you don the Ihram garbs at Jufa or in Shajara Mosque, it is recommended that you recite Labbaik along the way until you reach a distance where you are about to see the houses of the city of Mecca. There you should stop saying Labbaik and recite it no more. While entering the Haram, it is good to recite a dua or supplication if possible. It should be noted that when you are entering the city of Mecca, you often enter it through Tanin, an area where the Haram boundaries. The city of Mecca has extended and exceeded the Haram boundaries. In any case, upon reaching Mecca, you will come to Masjid al-Haram at an appropriate time in order to perform Tawaf of Umratul Tamattu. You must, however, take a few things into consideration before coming to the mosque. It is mustahab or desirable to perform ghusl for ihram and other obligatory acts. It is recommended to perform ghusl with the intention of mustahab ghusl before entering Masjid al-Haram and performing tawaf, because tawaf and its prayer have to be performed in the state of wuzu. Also, you should take a rosary with you for the mustahab zikrs or recitations during sa'i and tawaf. Also, you should take a rosary with you for the mustahab zikrs or recitations during sa'i and tawaf. If you can, you should also take a plastic bag with you for your slippers so that they do not get lost. It is also good to take a dua book with you. When you are going to Masjid al-Haram, you can enter the mosque through any of its gates. It is desirable to recite a supplication for entering the mosque, but if you do not recite one, it is no problem. Upon entering the mosque, it is desirable to perform Sajdatul Shukr, to thank Allah for granting you success in performing these rituals. It is also recommended to offer 2 rakats of tahiyyah prayers as a sign of respect for the mosque. But if you fail to offer the prayer, there is no problem. When we begin tawaf, before explaining to you the rules of tawaf, I would like to introduce to you to the locations which will have something to do with tawaf. As you look at the Kaaba, it has 4 corners, each with a different name. The corners are known as Rukn. Now, when it comes to corner in which the black stone is placed, it is called the black stone corner, which is the starting and finishing point of tawaf. In the same direction, you can see a line of pilgrims who are beginning to perform tawaf. As you move forward, you reach another corner where Hijr Ismail, the enclosure of a smile, is located. The corner is known as Rukn Iraqi, the Iraqi corner, because it is in the approximate direction of Iraq. As you proceed, you reach another corner known as Rukn Shami, the Syrian corner, because it is the general direction of Syria. The next corner, which is the corner before Black Stone corner, is Rukn Yamani, the southern corner facing Yemen. This is the corner which split open when the God's miracle allowing Fatima bint Asad to give birth to Hazrat Ali inside the Kaaba. These were the corners of the Kaaba which I introduced. Next is Maqam, the station of Abraham, which is the stone bearing a divine miracle, the trace of Hazrat Ibrahim's footstep. The stone is being kept in the courtyard of Masjid al-Haram inside a crystal box with a small protective shield 13 meters away from the Kaaba. As you see in the picture, Black Stone corner is close to the gate of the Kaaba. The space between the gate and the black stone is called Multazam, and the semicircle between the black stone and Maqam of Abraham and Hijr Ismail is known as Hakim, a place where sins fall away. Al-Hajar al-Aswad, which means black stone, was not black in the beginning, but it has turned black with the passage of time. It is a sacred stone which was sent down from heaven. It is placed 1 meter above the ground in one of the corners of the Kaaba, and it is the starting point for Tawaf. You also see Hijr Ismail and Mercy Drain. The half circle, which apparently looks to be the Kaaba yard, is called Hijr Ismail, the enclosure of Ismail. Ismail's mother is said to be buried here. In order to prevent pilgrims from walking on his mother's grave, Ismail, peace be upon him, put a stone enclosure around the grave. Then a wall was built up. For that reason, the pilgrims doing Tawaf must not walk into the enclosure. Another important place is the place near Ar-Rukn al-Yamani, which is next to Hijr Ismail, and it is opposite the Kaaba gate, meaning the Kaaba gate is on the other side of the Kaaba opposite to the Rukn. In the past, there had been a gate over there whose mark is still visible. This specific area is called Mustajar. Zamzam is situated on this side. Zamzam is the spring or well, which is still present as well, of course. It is said that Zamzam water bubbled out under Hazrat Ismail's feet when he rubbed them against the ground. The water is still there and people drink it. This was a brief introduction to the sacred places. Now I'm going to explain to you the manner and rules of performing Tawaf, the second obligatory act of Umrah to Tamattu. To be precise, there are 3 conditions for Tawaf, and they are either related to Tawaf itself or to the performer. First of all, one who performs Tawaf must be in the state of Tahara, ritual purity. That's to say, he should not be under the obligation to perform a ghusl, and he must be in the state of wuzu. As I said earlier, wuzu is required for Umrah and Hajj obligations such as Tawaf and its prayer. Other obligations do not require wudu, although it is mustahab to be in the state of wudu. So taharat is necessary for a pilgrim who is performing Tawaf. He must be in the state of wudu. His clothes and body must be clean, of course. Ihram cloth is clean, but it should be mubah, which means that it should be purchased with one's own halal income. The body must also be clean from impurities. Likewise, the clothes which you will wear while performing the Hajj rituals must be mubah. That is, it should not be user property, nor should they have been purchased with money whose zakat or homes have not been paid. The Tawaf performer must circumambulate the Kaaba with the intention of performing Tawaf and seeking nearness to God. The intention of seeking nearness to God is a necessary part of all the acts of Umrah to Tamattu as well as Hajj. As for the conditions which deal with the Tawaf itself, first one must circumambulate the Kaaba 7 times continuously. The circumambulation must commence at Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone, and complete at the same corner. The Al-Hajar al-Aswad corner is usually crowded because a lot of people are trying to kiss the stone at the corner. There is a black line stretching from the corner to the end of the courtyard of the Masjid al-Haram. Those who perform Tawaf can find a line in front of their feet and begin their circumambulation from the line and end at it. Also, there is a green light on the wall of Masjid al-Haram facing the black stone as a sign for those who perform Tawaf at night. Tawaf has to be started from here and ended at the same point.
بشه و به همین نقطه هم ختم بشود و همینجا باید عرض کنیم این که عرض میکنیم طواف باید از این
It is not necessary to join the line of tawaf performance from here. When you are coming into the mosque, come with the crowd and walk slowly without the intention of tawaf until you reach the line opposite to the black stone or opposite to the green line. Once there, make the niyyah of tawaf and start making 7 rounds. It is not necessary to stop when a round is complete. It is simply desirable to make a gesture with your hand, say takbir, and kiss your hand. Finally, complete the tawaf from the point you had come and stand.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
We are next to the queue of performance of tawaf in Masjid al-Haram. In the previous session, we explained to you some of the issues related to tawaf, and we said the second of the obligatory act related to the tawaf of Umrah to Tamattu. Tawaf comprises certain acts that are either related to the person performing tawaf or to the tawaf itself. In the previous session, we said the person performing tawaf must have ritual purity and wudu. His body and clothes must be pure, and his clothes must be mubah, which means they should be acquired by lawful means. Likewise, he must have the niyyah, intention of tawaf. He must know that he is performing Umrah to Tamattu with the intention of gaining closeness to God. Those acts related to the tawaf itself are: first, the tawaf consists of 7 rounds. That is to say, we must circumambulate the Kaaba 7 times, not less and not more. Normally, everybody knows that tawaf is supposed to start from the black stone, that is to say, right from where the black stone is, and its sign is this, that it is usually crowded with people who want to touch the black stone. Secondly, along the floor of Masjid al-Haram is a dark-colored stone of 20 centimeters reaching up to the end of the Masjid al-Haram. This is another good sign, and the performers of tawaf can look in front of their feet, and when they reach this dark line, they should make their niyyah and start performing tawaf. Another sign is that at night there is a green fluorescent light opposite to the black stone. The other thing to be mentioned is that during tawaf the left shoulder should face the Kaaba. That is to say, you must not perform tawaf with foreface or backwards to the Kaaba, and you must not circumambulate in a receding manner. Also during tawaf you have to go round the Ismail enclosure, or what is known as a Hijr Ismail. As you can see, the performers of tawaf are circling the Ismail enclosure also. That is to say, they move around the half circle where the golden drain is located. They do not enter the enclosure itself. It is necessary to move around the Kaaba and the enclosure of Ismail. Another issue is that during tawaf you have to be outside of the Kaaba, and this is usually the case. However, there is a projection near the base of the Kaaba which is known as Shadrawan. One must circumambulate keeping clear of the holy Kaaba and its projection. In the course of tawaf, one should not extend one's arm towards the Shadrawan or the wall of the holy Kaaba to touch a corner. If he does so, his tawaf would become a matter of ishkal or objection. Another issue is that according to the verdicts of some marjas jurists, tawaf has to be performed between the maqam of Abraham and the Kaaba. However, according to the verdicts of other jurisprudence, there is no problem if tawaf is performed from a bit further away. As for those who cannot circumambulate from this said distance due to a reason like heart illness or thickness of the crowd and such like, they are permitted to perform tawaf from a further distance, and there would be no problem in doing so. This issue will be explained to you by the clerics helping the caravans. These are issues which were related to tawaf. There are some other things of which I have to remind you. When you wish to begin tawaf, there is no need for you to enter the crowd from the point which is opposite to the black stone. You can enter the crowd at any point and follow it until you reach the black stone. And when you reach it, you make your intention and commence your tawaf. You don't have to stop moving when you want to make your intention. Make it as you walk. And when you finish tawaf, you do not have to come out from the same place you join the crowd. Move out wherever you feel free, but then when you are moving with the crowd and you have finished your tawaf, you should no longer retain the intention of tawaf. Your intention should be to move out of the crowd. Go behind the station of Abraham to perform the prayer of tawaf. The other thing is that during tawaf, do not go for mustahab acts like kissing the black stone, kissing the Kaaba and praying in Hijr Ismail. You can do these acts later when you have finished your tawaf. When the tawaf is finished, you have to pray 2 rak'ahs with the intention of tawaf prayer for Umrah to Tamattu behind the station of Abraham. As I mentioned earlier, when the tawaf has been completed, you easily move with the people of performing tawaf. As you move out, try to go behind the station of Abraham so that it is in front of you when you are facing the Kaaba. If you stand near the station, there would be no problem in it, but usually you cannot manage to stand there because the station is overcrowded. As you can see right now, there are people performing tawaf from behind the station, so you cannot stand and offer tawaf prayer over there. There is no problem if you come further behind and stand at a place where it will be said you are behind the station of Abraham and praying. Yes, if there is less of a crowd and neither you nor the crowds are disturbing the other, it is better to pray near the station of Abraham. But when there is a pressing crowd of tawaf performance, do not stand in their way because the crowd will not let you pray either. Tawaf prayer consists of 2 rak'ahs like the morning prayer. It has no azan or iqama. You read Surah Hamd and any other surah correctly, just like any other prayers. Try to offer your prayers correctly, and if you think you have some problems with your prayer, you must tell your caravanserai cleric to help you correct them. Here I should remind of another thing also. Those who are representing others in the Umrah and Hajj should be able to pray correctly, and if they cannot pray correctly, their representation is not correct. They should perform all acts related to the Hajj in the right manner. I should recite that if their prayers are not correct, they should correct them before offering them. We said that these 2 rak'ahs can be prayed with any surah after Hamd, but it is mustahab. If in the first rak'ah you recite Surah Tawheed and in the next you recite Surah Kafirun, there is no problem if you do not include the qunut, but if you do recite a dua that you can recite correctly. The next obligatory act which we will perform after tawaf and its prayer is sa'i between Safa and Marwa.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
We have come to Safa to perform sa'i between Safa and Marwa. Safa and Marwa are two small mounds located at a short distance from each other. As you can see, they have built a hall between these two mounds, a hall with 20 meters width and 400 meters length stretching from nearby Masjid al-Haram. At present, the Safa and Marwa mounds have been removed and there is a very little sign of them. The finishing point of Marwa is now macadamized and there is nothing visible from Marwa except for the gradual ramp that starts from Safa. However, sa'i has to be done between Safa and Marwa. There are a few important issues with regards to sa'i which I have to explain here. Sa'i consists of 7 laps. The first round starts at Safa and ends at Marwa. The second round is reversal of the first. The first is like the first, and so on until the 7th round ends at Marwa. In each round, one should cover the whole distance between the two mounts. There is no need to climb any of them. Part of the mount is steep and another part is macadamized. You can start sa'i from macadamized area and turn at the same point for each round. The sa'i would be in order. As you see, when walking towards Marwa, one must set his face to it. The same procedure should apply to Safa. It is not permissible to turn one's back to Marwa when proceeding to it, or turn one's back to Safa when returning from Marwa. He should not walk backwards or in a zigzag manner, nor should he proceed to either destination sideways. He should walk with a normal speed. There would be no objection in walking fast or slowly, but it is better to walk with a moderate speed. Brisk walking is not mustahab for women, nor is it obligatory for men. If they forget to walk briskly, they should not return to do it, because if they walk back, their sa'i would become objectionable. Again, if they walk briskly behind the line, there would be no objection in it. It is mustahab to walk briskly both going to and coming from Marwa. If a woman walks briskly inadvertently, there would be no problem in it. Performing sa'i is not very difficult. It is an act in which one either never has doubt or doubts very little, because when you are going to Marwa, the number is odd, and when you are returning from Marwa to the Safa, the number is even. Sa'i is finally completed at Marwa. If you get tired while doing so, you can take a rest for a while, either at Safa or Marwa, or even in the middle of the two destinations. What is important is that you should continue sa'i from the same place when you had stopped. You can even stop sa'i to attend a congregational prayer, but then you should remember to continue sa'i from the same place you had left at. Sa'i is completed at Marwa, and when all of the 7 rounds are complete, you should perform taksir. That is, you should trim part of your nails and do a small haircut with the intention of completing the last mandatory ceremony of Umrah Tamattu with the purpose of getting nearness to God. Most pilgrims have scissors and nail cutters with them. That is good if one has to give you his scissors or nail cutters, but you should note that you must not trim others' hair or your own unless you have performed your own duty of taksir, which is the last of the obligatory acts of Umrah Tamattu. Taksir has no specific location, that is to say, It is not necessary to perform taqseer right over there at Marwa. You can go anywhere out of here and do taqseer. You can even do it in your place of residence without objection. In any case, as long as you have not done taqseer, you are considered to be in the state of ihram. The obligations of Umrah to Tamattu end with taqseer. Upon doing taqseer, all those acts which had become haram due to ihram become permissible, but certain acts like abusing, lying, etc. remain forbidden always as before. However, there are specific rules for the haram which have to be observed. For instance, hunting in the haram area and picking the haram plants are forbidden under any circumstances. These rules are specific to the haram itself. Finally, I have to remind you of a recommended act during sa'i. That is, when you are performing sa'i, it is recommended to recite supplications and to praise God. There are narrated supplications and zikrs, short praise words, which you can read. For example, it is suggested to say Allahu Akbar 100 times, La ilaha illallah 100 times, and Subhanallah 100 times. We request you to pray for us, and we are also praying for you at this holy place called Safa, being adjacent to the house of God. We hope God will grant everyone success to perform these rituals. Having done taqseer, the pilgrim will wait until the days of Hajj arrive. That is to say, they will wait until the 8th day of Zihajjah or the night of the 9th day, when they will wear the ihram again and leave for Arafat to perform the second part of the rituals.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
It is 8th day of Zil Hajjah. The pilgrims are now preparing to perform the rituals of Hujjatul Tamattu. The first of the obligatory rites was Umratul Tamattu, which ended with taqseer. The pilgrims remain in Mecca for some days, during which they perform recommended acts such as prayers and circumambulations of the Kaaba, and they also recite Quran and indulge in supplications. During the time between ihram of Umrah and that of Hajj, the pilgrims must not shave. They must not perform Umrah Mufradah, individual Umrah, either. Moreover, it is not permissible for the pilgrims to uproot trees or pick shrubs and plants from the haram area. They are also not allowed to hunt in the haram premises as long as they are in the city of Mecca. The 8th day of Zil Hajjah is called the day of Tarwiyah, fetching water, because in the early time water had been of special importance in Arafat. Mash'ar al-Haram and also Mina. When the pilgrims would meet each other, they would say, Ar-Rawiya min al-Ma, that is, did you have water? Today is called the day of Tarwiyah, or the day of fetching water for Arafat, Mash'ar and Mina. As far as ihram is concerned, some pilgrims wear the ihram on the 8th day of Zil Hajjah. Others wear it on the 9th of the 9th day of Zil Hajjah, and some in the morning of the 9th day. They begin performing their Hajj duties when they have to put on the ihram, because it is with the ihram that certain mandatory rites begin to be performed, which include ihram in Mecca, wuquf at Arafat on 9th day, wuquf at Mash'ar al-Haram on the 9th of Eid al-Adha, which is the night before the 8th day. Then on the 8th day, which you will stone the Aqaba pillar, which is called Jumaratul Aqaba, and the last of 3 pillars. After that, you will sacrifice an animal and do taqseer or shave your head. Then on the 11th and 12th nights of Zil Hajjah, the pilgrims must stay in Mina and then perform Ram Jamara, or stoning, on the 11th and 12th days. There are some obligatory acts which have to be done in Mecca. These obligations are technically called post-Mina obligations, which include the Tawaf of Hajj, its prayer, sa'i between Safa and Marwa, Tawaf an-Nisa, and its prayer. This was a list of the entire Hajj obligations which the pilgrims are supposed to perform after wearing the Ihram clothes. Wearing Ihram is the first duty. You can see pilgrims who have put on Ihram and who are already said Labbaik. They are now going to leave for the plain of Arafat to perform the remaining mandatory acts. The issues related to Ihram of Hajj are similar to those of the Ihram of the Umrah. As I told you earlier, there are three things which are to be taken into consideration with respect to wearing Ihram. The first of these three things is wearing Ihram clothes, the second niyyah or intention, and the third is saying Labbaik. It is recommended to perform ghusl before wearing the Ihram. It is necessary for men to take off all sewn garments or pieces of clothes, including underwear. They should not wear anything other than the two pieces of Ihram clothes which you have been seen in the pictures also. One piece of cloth is put on the shoulder and the other is put on the body and tied at the waist. Women can put on their ordinary clothes, but they can wear special white dresses here, as they usually do. However, they should set their minds on doing Hajj Tamattu, and with this same intention they have to say Labbaik, or Niyyah should be purely for the sake of gaining proximity and closeness to God. The Niyyah is often called out loud by the caravan leader, and those who hear him respond to the call. The Niyyah is normally said thus: I'm wearing Ihram of Hajj Tamattu, Qurbatan ilallah, with the intention of seeking nearness to God. When you have said your mind like this, you will then send Labbaik as such. Upon reciting this statement, you enter the state of Ihram. All those acts which were forbidden during the Ihram of Umrah are forbidden during Ihram of Hajj Tamattu also, and one who is in the state of Ihram should not do them. Upon wearing Ihram, the pilgrims depart Mecca for Arafat to perform the remaining obligatory acts. There are two basic differences between Ihram of Umrah and Ihram of Hajj. The first difference is in the intention. When you wear the Umrah Ihram, your intention is to perform Umrah to Tamattu, whereas the second Ihram is worn with the intention of performing Hajj Tamattu. The second difference is in the places of Ihram. The Ihram of Umrah is worn at one of the miqats or stations like Jofa or Shajara Mosque, whereas the Ihram of Hajj Tamattu is worn in the city of Mecca, preferably inside Masjid al-Haram. However, since Masjid al-Haram is crowded, it is very difficult to do the Ihram inside the mosque. A very few people do enter the mosque sooner than the others and succeed in wearing their Ihram garbs in there. Again, for those who wear Ihram inside the mosque, it is better to wear them and say Labbaik near the Maqam of Abraham or inside Hijr Ismail, the Ismail enclosure. Well, now that we are in the state of Ihram, we leave for Arafat to perform the second of the acts of Hajj Tamattu, which is Wuquf, staying at Arafat. The pilgrims who are going to Mina today or in the coming night or tomorrow morning have nothing obligatory to perform with regards to Wuquf until midday tomorrow. Wuquf starts tomorrow, the 9th of Zihajjah, from midday and continues until sunset. I will talk about Wuquf later, inshallah. Peace and mercy of Allah be upon all of you. Here I request the pilgrims to repeat the Labbaik once again. خواهیم کرد به خواست خداوند و السلام علیکم و رحمت الله و برکاته. باز مجددا من از زائران میخواهم که یک بار دیگه لبیک را به نیت احرام حج تمتع تکرار کنن. لبیک لبیک اللهم لبیک اللهم لبیک 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 لا شریک لک لبیک لا شریک لک لبیک ان الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك
لبیک اللهم لبیک
لبيك اللهم لبيك
لبیک لا شریک لک لبیک
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك
ان الحمد والنعمة لك والملك
إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك
لا شريك لك لبيك
لا شريك لك لبيك
لبيك اللهم لبيك
لبيك اللهم لبيك
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك
إن الحمد
إن الحمد
والنعمة
والنعمة
لك والملك
لك والملك
لا شريك لك.
لا شريك لك.
خب دیگه هم اکنون محرم هستید، محرمات احرام براتون حرام هست. کارهایی که در احرام حج، در احرام عمره گفتیم حرام بود، اینجا هم براتون حرام هست. تکرار لبیک مستحب است. لبیک ها رو تکرار میکنید تا فردا ظهر، که دیگه فردا ظهر دیگه نباید لبیک بگید و لبیک رو قطع میکنید، یعنی فردا در وقت وقوف و همچنین هنگام رفتن به مشعر الحرام و در مشعر الحرام و منا دیگه لبیک گفته نمیشه. دیگه خودتون با خودتون لبیک ها رو تکرار کنید، ولو با گفتن لبیک اللهم لبیک.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Today is the 10th day of the Hajj and we are here on the plain of Arafat. There is a pretty special atmosphere here. Perhaps every pilgrim or every Muslim who until yesterday was in Mecca offering prayer in Masjid al-Haram, circumambulating the Kaaba, doing sa'i, offering prayers behind Maqam of Abraham, and performing recommended acts, may ask this question as to why all the pilgrims are coming out to this flat land. Why do they have to be at a fixed place at a fixed time? Perhaps all of you know that wuquf, or saying, is one of the important fundamentals of Hajj. It cannot be given up, nor can it be done by proxy. Those who are unable to perform Rami can choose a substitute to do Ram on their behalf. Pilgrims who do not go or do not want to go to the slaughterhouses can ask someone else to perform the sacrifice ritual on their behalf. As for wuquf at Arafat and Mash'ar al-Haram, it cannot be done by proxy. Everyone has to come here himself. Even those in poor health who are clad in the ihram of Hajj have to be brought here. They have to be here from midday till sunset, and that is all for wuquf. Nothing else need to be done. What is important is being here in the congregation, the mammoth gathering of a white army of Muslims. Here, the number of pilgrims and their very presence count a lot. This is a place of worship and invocation also. This is a place where sins are forgiven and effaced. Of course, there are other places for worship and invocation, also like the Kaaba, the enclosure of Ismail, Maqam, or station of Abraham. But why here? Why should it be in a place where Muslims' power, majesty, and grandeur have to be exhibited? This is where the Muslims camp, and from here after sunset they set out together towards Mash'ar al-Haram. Upon reaching Mash'ar al-Haram, the pilgrims collect pebbles for themselves.
اینجا جایی است که مسلمان ها اردو میزنند در این روز و از اینجا به طور متحد حرکت میکنن. بعد از مغرب روانه مشعر الحرام میشن و در مشعر الحرام سنگ جمع آوری میکنن.
Therefore, every pilgrim and every Muslim individual must ponder the secrets of these rituals. Why are a large sum of Muslims' money and financial resources used annually for this ceremony, a ceremony whose rules, manners and ritual sequences are precisely described. Anyhow, today is the day of Arafat. It is a day in which all of the pilgrims must stay on the plain of Arafat from midday until sunset. Like all other pilgrims who also wore ihram clothes yesterday in Mecca, and we came to Arafat last night. Today we have come to here with the niyyah of wuquf from midday till sunset. As I mentioned earlier, one of the obligatory acts, and of course the second of the acts, is wuquf, meaning staying here and being present in this very place. However, there are many recommended acts that we are advised to do and many supplications to read. Normally the pilgrims offer prayers, recite narrated supplications, and murmur their secrets and wishes to God. One of the most well-known supplications is that of Imam Hussein, which is the Imam read on the plain of Arafat near the Mount of Mercy on the left side. Also, it is good to recite Imam Zain al-Abidin's famous supplication. As I said, we must be here in Arafat from midday until sunset. As you can see, Arafat is like a wide desert with clear boundaries. There are yellow signboards all around the plain of Arafat with the messages, "Beginning of Arafat." When you exit the land of Arafat, there is another signboard which reads, "End of Arafat." During wuquf, the pilgrims must not walk out of the Arafat premises. Since time is golden and very precious, you must not waste it doing unvaluable or less valuable tasks. Time is short. Do not walk idly within the tents, camps, and in the streets. Avail the opportunity as far as you can. Do not lose it, for you cannot compensate it in the same year. No one other than God knows who might come here in the following years. Therefore, make the best use of your time and be busy praying and worshipping God. There is one more reason. If you walk among the tents, there is a likelihood of getting lost because everyone is wearing white. The tents are all white and the streets are similar to one another. So you might get lost and lose your group as well. There are two places in Arafat. One is Jabal al-Rahman, the Mount of Mercy, and the other is Namra Mosque. We advise you not to go to these places without consulting your caravan leaders. In addition, climbing up the Jabal al-Rahman is undesirable when you are within the time of wuquf. As for Namra Mosque, there is much distance between the Iranian caravans and the mosque. Part of the mosque exceeds the boundary of Arafat. Therefore, do not go to the mosque on your own without prior coordination because you might get lost or step out of the boundaries of Arafat at wuquf time. You will be here from midday until sunset. When Maghrib sets in, we will then move to Mash'ar al-Haram, where we will stay for the night. Tomorrow morning we will set out for Mina, which is in the same direction as Arafat and Mash'ar al-Haram, or Muzdalifah, because first the pilgrims come to Arafat, whereupon they will move to Mash'ar al-Haram to stay there for the coming night. Then tomorrow morning they will leave for Mina to perform the rituals which they are supposed to do.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Good evening. Tonight is the night of Eid al-Adha. I'm speaking from Mash'ar al-Haram, where we are to perform wuquf, which is the third obligatory act of Hajj Tamattu. This place has a second name also. It is called Muzdalifah. When leaving Arafat, you see signboards which read, "Beginning of Muzdalifah." And when you are leaving Muzdalifah for Mina on the way, there are signboards which read, "End of Muzdalifah." All pilgrims depart Arafat after sunset, and they come here to stay for the night in obedience to God. They are here from dawn to sunrise with the intention of wuquf. Tomorrow morning, everyone will set out for Mina to perform the rituals of Eid al-Adha. The distance between Arafat and Mash'ar al-Haram is approximately 5 kilometers, but it is not very far from Mash'ar al-Haram to Mina. There is only the Muassar Valley in between, which is not more than 300 meters. The three places, Arafat, Mash'ar al-Haram and Mina, are located one after the other. As I mentioned earlier, first the pilgrims go to Arafat, then they come to Mash'ar al-Haram to stay here tonight. Then tomorrow, after sunrise, they will move simultaneously to Mina. Arafat is out of Haram boundary, whereas Mina and Mash'ar al-Haram are within the boundary of Haram. What is obligatory on the pilgrims is being here and staying at this place. The pilgrim's intention must be absolute obedience to God. As part of the obligatory act of Hajj, it is necessary to be here from the morning adhan until sunrise with the intention of wuquf or staying. Our intention to stay here for tonight in obedience to God's order is sufficient in terms of the niyyah, which is one of the necessary acts of Hajj Tamattu. If our intention is to be here for wuquf as an obligatory act of Hajj Tamattu, and if we then fall asleep, there would be no problem, even if we wake up after the morning adhan. We will leave for Mina after sunrise to perform the rituals of Eid al-Adha. It is mustahab to praise and glorify the oneness of Allah here in this place. The Holy Quran also states that when you enter Mash'ar al-Haram, you should engage in supplications. You can recite short zikrs, words of prayer, like Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, and Subhanallah. There are short supplications which can be read at Mash'ar al-Haram. Another mustahab act to do here is to collect pebbles for tomorrow, which is the 8th day, and for the 11th and 12th day. The pebbles will be used for stoning the Jamara, or pillars. Although pebbles have to be collected from the Haram area, there would be no problem if they are collected from the city of Mecca. It is permissible to collect pebbles at Mash'ar al-Haram, and there would be no objection in doing so. However, pebbles cannot be collected from Arafat because, as I mentioned earlier, Arafat is located outside of the Haram boundary. It is recommended to collect the pebbles from Mash'ar al-Haram on Eid Eve, that is, this night. Since recently some barriers have been put up at some places, it is difficult for pilgrims to get access to mountains and surroundings where pebbles could be found. For this reason, there would be no problem if they collect pebbles anywhere in the city of Mecca. However, if pilgrims are staying at a place in Mash'ar al-Haram where they have access to pebbles, they should collect them on Eid Eve. It is mustahab to collect them in pebble from not as rocks. Although breaking a rock into pebbles is free of objection, it is better to collect pebbles. It is better for the stones to be the thickness of a finger. They should not be so small as to be considered gravel, nor should they be so large as to hurt people if they do not hit the target. The stones should not be flat either, and they must not be so small as to become invisible for you when you are throwing them at the pillars. It is not necessary to collect the pebbles by yourself. That is to say, if someone else collects them and gives them to you, there would be no objection in doing so, though it is desirable to collect the stones yourself and not to break a rock to make small pebbles. There would be, however, no objection to breaking a rock if one fails to find pebbles. This was a brief explanation about wuquf, staying at Mash'ar al-Haram. Tomorrow morning, we will proceed to Mina after sunrise, which is determined through the announced timings because there are high mountains here and sunrise cannot be ascertained until the sun rises high in the sky. When it is sunrise time, you should wait for some minutes as a measure of precaution.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
This morning we left Mash'ar al-Haram for Mina after sunrise. We are now here in Mina to perform the Eid al-Adha day rituals like Ramy of Jamaratul Aqaba and shaving or cutting of hair. These are the necessary acts which have to be done in the Eid day. First we will do Ramy of Aqaba pillar, then we will offer the sacrifice, and finally we will do Taqsir or shave our heads. I need to tell you something about the Ramy of Aqaba pillar. When you enter Mina from the Mash'ar al-Haram side and proceed forward, as you are seeing the pilgrims, some of whom are now going to stone the pillar and some others are returning, you find these stone pillars near the end of Mina area, next to Khif Mosque. The first pillar is called Ula. The second one is called Wusta or middle pillar. And the third one is called Aqaba or Kubra pillar. On the 8th day, we have to pass by the first and second pillars and throw pebbles only at the Aqaba pillar, which is the third one. I should like to explain to you some issues in connection with the pebbles and the manner of stoning the pillar. As I mentioned earlier, the pebbles should neither be so small as to be considered gravels, nor should they be so big as to be considered large stones. They should be of the thickness of a finger. Bigger or smaller than that is not appropriate. Another thing is that the pebbles should be collected from within the haram boundary, not from outside of the boundary. The city of Mecca and parts of the surrounding area are included in the boundary of the haram. That is to say, if pebbles are collected from the city of Mecca or from Mash'ar al-Haram and Mina, there will be no objection, though it is desirable to collect the stones from Mash'ar al-Haram while staying there on Eid Eve. The next relevant issue is that the stones you are going to use for shooting the pillar should be unused. That is to say, they should not have been used previously for the same purpose. That is why it is good to collect pebbles from Mash'ar al-Haram. Do not use pebbles that have been poured near the pillars because they might be used pebbles. One more issue to explain with regard to pebbles is that the pebbles should be mubah, meaning they should be your own pebbles. Of course, if someone else collects pebbles and gives them to you, there should be no problem in using them. But be careful not to pick up others' stones bags mistakenly, as this might happen with some of you. It is not necessary for the pebbles to be ritually clean, but if they are, it would be better. And one who is doing Ram is not required to be in the state of ritual purity, but to be in the state of wudu is mustahab. The next question is how many pebbles are required to hit the pillar. The answer is that it is necessary to stone the pillars with 7 pebbles, not more nor less. However, if you have thrown 7 pebbles and you entertain a doubt as to whether or not all the 7 pebbles hit the pillar, you must throw more stones until you are sure that 7 pebbles have hit the pillar. It is, however, not necessary that the 7 stones hit the pillar one after the other. For example, you have thrown 3 pebbles and you now throw the 4th, but it does not hit the pillar. So you throw the 5th stone. The 5th stone is considered as the 4th stone, and there would be no objection in this. In addition, it is necessary that the stones must reach the jamra by being aimed at it and not merely deposited there. Thus, if you go near the pillar and put your stones over there, it would not be sufficient. Usually such a thing does not happen because you have to throw your stones owing to the overwhelming crowd. You should know that it is mustahab to shoot the pillars with your back towards the Qibla. To do so, it is desirable and not obligatory. For doing this, you will have to pass the pillar and go to the other side because Qibla is in this direction and you will have to throw your stones from the other side. Since the Jamra is overcrowded on a day, there would be no problem if you shoot the pillar from any direction. It doesn't matter if you don't perform this mustahab act. It is, however, recommended to say takbir each time you are throwing your pebbles at the Aqaba as well as other pillars, because saying takbir is a way of expressing love and unity with the monotheists and hatred towards the polytheists and party of Satan. These 3 pillars, including Jamaratul Aqaba, which we are going to stone, are symbols of Satan, which tempted Hazrat Ibrahim when he was going to sacrifice Hazrat Ismail. The Prophet pelted stones at Satan, and as far as he could, he repelled him. In reality, we are doing this in order to fight the satanic forces. Whether we are in Arafat or in any other part of Mecca, we have to engage in supplications and recitations of the Holy Quran and detach ourselves from God's enemies. There is a famous report that the Bara'at chapter of the Holy Quran was recited for the pilgrims by Imam Ali at the behest of the Holy Prophet, either in Arafat or in Mina. After stoning Jamaratul Aqaba, we must sacrifice an animal in the way of God, and then we must do taksir. Therefore, to conclude, the obligations of the day of Eid al-Adha, including stoning Jamaratul Aqaba, sacrifice and taksir or shaving. As for sacrifice, I will take about it from within the slaughterhouses. As you know, the pilgrims must slaughter an animal in the way of God as one of the obligatory acts of Tamattu Hajj. The animals which they slaughter can be a camel, a cow, or a sheep. Normally, the pilgrims sacrifice sheep. There are certain conditions which regard to the animals which are sacrificed there. Normally, the people who go to the slaughterhouses are well acquainted with the conditions. They know how old an animal is and whether it is healthy or not. The important thing to note here is that every pilgrim can do the sacrifice through a proxy, so he can authorize someone else to go to the place of sacrifice and slaughter an animal on his behalf. Ladies are absolutely not allowed to enter in the slaughterhouses. The place is too small to incorporate all men as well. Therefore, it is not possible for all male pilgrims to go to the slaughterhouses. What they often do is authorize a few people from each caravan to sacrifice animals on behalf of each pilgrim. May God reward those who undertake such a responsibility. I would like to request sincerely those who might go to the slaughterhouses to learn in a private meeting with the caravan cleric all the conditions that an animal should have. He must learn the necessary conditions related to slaughtering the animal. It is necessary that you slaughter an animal in the direction of Qibla and do not forget to recite Bismillah. Take care of everything. The pilgrims who have done ram or stoning must inform those who are supposed to perform sacrifice on their behalf. You must not shave or do taqsir as long as you have not been informed of the completion of the sacrifice on your behalf. That is to say, you should wait until those who have gone to the slaughterhouses inform you that they have done sacrifice on your behalf. Thereupon, if your duty is to shave your head, you will do so, and if your duty is to taqsir, you will do taqsir. The rituals of Eid al-Adha Day are completed with the shaving or taqsir. According to many grand jurists, those who are performing Hajj for the first time, irrespective of whatever they are performing Hajj for themselves or on another's behalf, must shave their heads. Others give the option of their shaving a head or doing taqsir. In any case, shaving is preferred and more virtuous.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Tonight is the night of 11th day of Zilhajjah, and yesterday was the 8th day. I'm speaking from among a gathering of the pilgrims of the house of God who are staying in Mina. As you know, the pilgrims wore the Ihram garbs in the evening of the 8th of Zilhajjah. They left Mecca for Arafat yesterday, which was the day of Arafat. The pilgrims were in the plain of Arafat, or the land of cognition. Then the pilgrims simultaneously came out of Arafat for Mash'al al-Haram, which is also called Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah literally means a place where people converge all at once. This morning all the pilgrims departed Muzdalifah for Mina and performed ramj, sacrifice, shaving and taqsir as the obligations of the day of Eid al-Adha. You can see the pilgrims, some of whom have shaved their heads, and some who are not performing Hajj for the first time have done taqsir. Some of the pilgrims might have done ramy, but they have not been able to sacrifice an animal. They will do so tomorrow, God willing. At the end of the 8th day, on the 11th and 12th nights of Zilhajjah, the pilgrims must stay in Mina from the beginning of the night until midnight. This act is called Baytuta in Arabic, which means overnight stay in Mina. Midnight has to be calculated from sunset to sunrise. The time in between sunset and sunrise is considered midnight. The pilgrims have to stay in Mina during the night's first portion. According to some jurists, those of pilgrims who, due to some problems, fail to be here during the first part of the night can stay in Mina during the night's second part. The caravan leader or cleric, however, will guide you about calculating midnight time. He will also let you know the rulings of various prominent jurists. I have to tell you briefly that in addition to staying here until midnight on the 11th and 12th night of Zilhajjah, it is necessary for every pilgrim to set his mind on performing this act of worship in the hope of attaining closeness to Allah. It is not necessary to say aloud one's intention of staying in Mina. To bear in mind that he will stay here tonight and tomorrow night is sufficient. To pronounce the niyyah verbally is not required. The act of saying here, as I said, is an obligatory duty which should be performed with the intention of seeking nearness to God. Tomorrow night, which is the 12th night of Zilhajjah, you will stay here in the same manner. Tomorrow, the 11th, and day after tomorrow, the 12th of Zilhajjah, the pilgrims will stone the 3 Jamaras. They will have to stone them in the same manner that they stoned the Jamaratul Aqaba. On the day of Eid al-Adha, the pilgrims had to cross the Ola and Wusta Jamaras and stone the last pillar known as Jamaratul Aqaba. However, tomorrow they will have to stone all the 3 pillars, beginning with Ula Jamara. They have to hit the pillar with 7 stones. Then they should move on to the Wusta Jamara, that is the middle pillar. And finally, the Aqaba pillar, hitting each Jamara with 7 stones. We are now near the Jamara, the 3 pillars which we have to stone to fulfill another obligatory duty of Hajj. As I mentioned earlier, today the 11th and tomorrow the 12th of Zilhajjah, we are going to stone the 3 pillars, each with 7 stones. As we move in the direction of the pillars from the place we stayed, we first come across Khif Mosque. Just as we pass the mosque, we reach Ula Jamra, the first pillar to be pelted with 7 stones. Then as you proceed, you reach the middle pillar, which also pelted with 7 stones. Finally, there is the Aqaba Jamra, which has to be hit with 7 stones as explained before. I also told you that it is mustahab to say takbir each time you throw a stone at the pillars. It is also mustahab to stone the first and second pillars while you are facing Qibla. You are actually facing the Qibla when you are coming along the way to the pillars. However, unlike the first and second pillars, it is mustahab to stone the Aqaba pillars with your backs towards the Qibla. Since it is mustahab act, it does not matter if you cannot stone the pillars from the preferred directions. When you have stoned the 3 pillars on the 11th day, you must stay in Mina for the ensuing night. Again tomorrow on the 12th of Zilhajjah, you must stone all the pillars in the same manner. I would like to request you to take away your stone bags with you and do not leave them near the pillars. Some people are seen throwing plastic bags or whatever they have with them at the pillars. That is not good, and you have to take these things with you and throw them elsewhere in a proper place. I explained to you the rules in connection with the pebbles and throwing them. You should stone the pillars in the same manner that you stoned the Aqaba pillar. Therefore, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, what the pilgrims are supposed to do is stone the 3 pillars. The time for stoning starts from sunrise to sunset. The pilgrims have to stone the pillars within this time. When the pillars offer their morning prayers, they will set out for stoning the Jamara, that is, the 3 pillars. The distance between the places where the pilgrims stay and the Jamara is a bit long, so the pilgrims must note that Jamara is located between 2 ranges of mountains. The time of sunrise is not very clear to the eyes, so make sure to act according to the announced time of sunrise. If you are not sure, act on precaution and wait until you are sure that the sun has risen. You have time from sunrise to sunset to throw your stones. You have an entire day to fulfill this obligation, but you must not leave or delay throwing the stones until nightfall. On the 12th day of the Zilhajjah, the pilgrims can go to Mecca. You must note that you can go out of Mina after Zuhr Adhan. You must hear the call for prayer from the nearby mosque, and you might not, but you must exercise precaution in this regard so that you will not have acted against your duty. To be brief, the pilgrims who have performed Ramy before noon can leave Mina after Zuhr Azan. They should not leave the area before this time. I should tell you one thing more as well. If a pilgrim does not go out of Mina on the 12th day and stays here at sunset until nightfall, he can stone the Jamara again on Zilhajjah 13th. Usually this does not happen because the caravan leaders make the schedules in such a manner that you complete the stoning before Adhan and depart Mina for Mecca after Dhuhr Adhan. Let me tell you in brief once again that Mina obligations include 3 acts on the 8th day. They are stoning the Aqaba pillar, sacrifice and shaving or taksir. These obligations have to be performed on the 8th day. Two other acts are related to staying in Mina, and 2 others are related to the 11th and 12th days of Zilhajjah, which involve throwing 7 stones at each other of the pillars. Although the Mecca obligations can be performed after the 8th day obligations, they are called the obligatory acts after Mina, which include Tawaf of Hajj or the pilgrimage Tawaf. You can also perform some of the obligatory acts like Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, Tawaf of Hajj, Tawaf prayer, and Tawaf Nisa on the 8th day when you have finished shaving or taksir. For example, looking into a mirror, plucking one's hair, wearing rings for ornamental purposes, and such like, which were forbidden during the Ihram, all become halal after shaving or taksir, except for using scents like aromatic soap and toothpaste, which remain haram. Also, husband and wife remain haram for each other until the Hajj obligations are completely over, whereupon they will become halal for each other as before. And those acts which were forbidden before Ihram, like lying and cursing, etc., remain permanently forbidden. The duty of the pilgrims for the 11th and 12th nights of Zilhajjah is to stay in Mina only. They are not obligated to do anything else. To be in Mina on these nights is an obligation which the pilgrims have to fulfill. Of course, there are many mustahab acts like that can be performed at Mina, the land of aspirations and wishes. Mina is the place where Hazrat Abraham brought his dear son Ismail to be sacrificed. He acted according to his duty and did what he was asked to do. This is the place where they repulsed satanic temptations and fought Satan. Nowadays, when we are going to Jamarat and pelt the 3 pillars with stones, we are actually pledging to Abraham that we will also fight Satans, regardless of whether they are jinn Satans or human Satans, who are the enemies of Islam as Muslims, which we have to fight. Outwardly, we are pelting stones at some pillars, but there is an inner aspect in it which should have an impact on us. Here we are to ask whatever wishes we have entertained in our hearts. We should engage in supplications and prayers during these 2 nights. It does not make a problem if we are gone to sleep during Beituta overnight state during these 2 nights. In any case, this is where you should avail the time and opportunity. It is only once in a whole year.
این وظیفه انجام شده است، اما مستحبات زیاد است. اینجا سرزمین مناست، سرزمین آرزوها، محل قربانگاه است، قربانگاه اسماعیل، اینجا که حضرت ابراهیم علیه و علی نبینا و آله السلام فرزند خودش رو در پیشگاه الهی به قربانگاه آورد و طبق وظیفه تا اونجایی که وظیفه داشت عمل کرد و در همین مکان بود که وساوس شیطانی رو کنار زد و با شیطان مبارزه کرد. و ما امروز وقتی که به جمرات میریم و جمرات سگانه رو سنگ میزنیم، در حقیقت داریم اون خاطره ها رو تجدید میکنیم و با ابراهیم و ابراهیمیان تجدید عهد میبندیم که ما هم در زندگیمون با شیاطین مبارزه خواهیم کرد، چه شیاطین جنی که مربوط به خودمون هست و نفس اماره و چه شیاطین انسی که به هر حال دشمنان اسلام و مسلمین هستند که باید با اونها هم مبارزه کرد که حقیقتا اونها هم شیطان هستند. یعنی صرف این که ما اینجا به یک چند تا ستون سنگ میزنیم این ظاهر عمل هست، اما باطنی دارد که باید به هر حال در ما اثر کند. در این سرزمین باید اون چرا که خداوند میخواهیم بطلبیم از او، دعاهای بسیار زیاد. این بخش از شب رو که بیتوته میکنید یه قسمتیش رو به عبادت خداوند و راز و نیاز با خداوند سپری کنید، بخشی هم که استراحت میکنید. اشکال نداره در حال بیتوته آدم خواب هم باشه، مانعی ندارد. اما به هر حال سرزمین منا و عرفات و مشعر فقط اینجاست، جای دیگه گیر نمی آید و فرصت شب 11 و شب 12 هم در سال یک بار است، باز دوباره تکرار نمی شود تا سال دیگر و همچنین روز عرفه، تا که زنده باشد و چه کسی را قسمت بشود که به این سرزمین آید دیگه اونش با خداوند است. به هر حال این فرصت های طلایی رو از دست ندهید و به خوبی ازش استفاده کنید. در همین سرزمین مقدس و در این شب عزیز پس از عید قربان، بعد از اینکه این حجاج اعمالشون را انجام دادن، یعنی اعمال امروز را انجام دادن و به خواست خداوند ایدی میگیرن از خداوند، ایدی شما بینندگان رو هم از خداوند میطلبیم زیارت این اماکن و انجام این اعمال باشد ان شاء الله.
لبیک اللهم لبیک لبیک لا شریک لک لبیک ان الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك.
I am in Masjid al-Haram, speaking to you from near Kaaba and praying to Almighty Allah to grant us success in visiting this holy place. Well, following the obligations of Mena, we have now come to Masjid al-Haram to perform some of the obligatory acts which are called Mecca obligations. These obligatory acts are Tawaf of Hajj, Tawaf prayer, Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, Tawaf al-Nisa and its prayer. We have three kinds of tawafs and three pairs in total. They are Tawaf of Umrah to Tamattu, Tawaf of Hajj to Tamattu and Tawaf al-Nisa. Each of the tawaf has a prayer which has to be offered immediately after the tawaf is complete. There are two main differences among these tawafs and their prayers. The first difference is in the intention. We perform the first tawaf with the intention of tawaf of Umrah to Tamattu and offer its prayer with the intention of prayer of Umrah to Tamattu. Likewise, we perform Tawaf al-Nisa and offer its prayer with the intention of Tawaf al-Nisa and Tawaf al-Nisa prayer. The second difference is that we wear Ihram when performing Umrah to Tamattu, but we do not wear it during Tawaf of Hajj and Tawaf al-Nisa as well as their prayers. This is because when we shaved or did taksir in Mina, we took off the Ihram clothes. We came to Mecca to perform the remaining obligatory acts like Tawaf of Hajj, its prayer, Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, Tawaf al-Nisa and its prayer. I explained to you the rules in connection with these obligations. There was no difference in the law related to circumambulation. However, you must perform tawaf with ritually pure clothes, and you must complete 7 rounds of circumambulation or tawaf, each beginning at the black stone and ending at it. The first difference is in the intention. We perform the first tawaf with the intention of tawaf of Umrah to Tamattu and offer its prayer with the intention of prayer of Umrah to Tamattu. Likewise, we perform Tawafun Nisa and offer its prayer with the intention of Tawafun Nisa and Tawafun Nisa prayer. The second difference is that we wear ihram when performing Umrah to Tamattu, but we do not wear it during Tawaf or Hajj and Tawafun Nisa as well as their prayers. This is because when we have shaved or did taksir in Mina, we took off the ihram clothes. We came to Mecca to perform the remaining obligatory acts like Tawaf of Hajj, its prayer, sa'i between Safa and Marwa, Tawafun Nisa and its prayer. As I explained to you the rules in connection with these obligations, there is no difference in the law related to circumambulation. However, you must perform tawaf with ritually pure clothes and you must complete 7 rounds of circumambulation or tawaf, each beginning at the black stone and ending at it. While doing tawaf, the left shoulder should face the Kaaba. You must not enter Hijr Ismail, the enclosure of Ismail. Mecca obligations do not differ from those of Umrah circumambulation and its prayer except for the niyyah. After Tawaf of Hajj and its prayer, you are going to perform sa'i between Safa and Marwa, which also includes 7 rounds. Sa'i starts from Safa and ends at Marwa. After sa'i, you are going to perform Tawaf an-Nisa and offer its prayer. There are some relevant issues which I should explain. As I told earlier, Mecca obligations can be performed after the obligatory rituals of the 8th day. That is to say, when on the 8th day we have done Rami or Jamaratul Aqaba and done sacrifice and taksir or shaving, we can come to Mecca to perform the post-Mina duties. According to most jurisprudence, we have time to carry out these duties until the end of the month of Zihajjah. However, as long as we have not done these obligatory acts, we have to avoid some of the prohibited acts which I have referred to in my speech already. When we have shaved or done taksir, many of the prohibited acts which were prohibited under ihram become permissible, like looking in the mirror, plucking hair, walking in the shade, and such like, except for using scents, perfumes, and for husband and wife who remain forbidden for each other. Using perfume becomes permissible when Tawaf of Hajj, its prayer, and sa'i between Safa and Marwa have been completed. But husband and wife remain forbidden for each other until they have performed Tawafun Nisa and offered its prayer. The next issue to mention is that Tawaf and its prayer should take place one after the other. There should not be a gap between them. However, there would be no objection in delaying the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, though it should be accomplished before the end of Zil Hijjah. The next issue to explain is Tawafun Nisa and its prayer. Tawafun Nisa is not a duty of men only. Women also should perform Tawafun Nisa. They will be haram for each other as long as they have not performed it. Even if an unmarried boy or girl does not perform this tawaf and offer its prayer, he or she cannot marry in the future. Therefore, it is obligatory upon every married and unmarried individual to perform Tawaf al-Nisa and read its special prayer. The pilgrims should return to Mina on the 10th day to stay in Mina on the night of the 11th day of Zil-Hajjah. They should do Ram on the 11th and 12th day. Again, they have to stay in Mina for the 12th night. The pilgrims can also return to Mecca on the 11th day of Zil-Hajjah, but they should return to Mina to stay there on the 12th night. However, if Mecca obligations are performed after the 12th day of Zil-Hajjah, the entire rituals come to an end after Tawaf al-Nisa and its prayer. To conclude, we put on the Ihram on the 8th or on the night of the 9th of Zil-Hajjah or in the morning of the same day and left Mecca for Arafat, where we stayed from midday till sunset. Then we departed for Mash'ar al-Haram to be there at night. On the 8th day, we went to Mina. We stoned Jamratul Aqaba, sacrificed, and then shaved our heads or did taqsir. Then on the night of the 11th and 12th, we stayed in Mina. We stayed for one half of the nights with the intention of Baytuta, overnight stay. Then on the 11th and 12th days, we hit the 3 jamras or pillars with stones. After all these obligations, we came back to Mecca to perform Tawaf of Hajj and offer its prayer, followed by Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and finally Tawaf al-Nisa and its prayer.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك